Bro, thank you for doing this, man.
What's up, man? Yeah, thanks. No, thanks for having me, man. Thanks for inviting me. It's a blessing to be here, honestly.
Yeah, like, it's crazy how this just kind of began with a random, just like showing each other love pretty much on social, being like, hey, man, see you doing your thing. That's fucking dope. Now you're here. So, man, I appreciate you coming through. And like, even before the podcast, we're just having a great conversation. So why not put it on wax, you know?
Yeah, why not, man? I don't know what I'm going to say or whatever, but, just...
Yeah, fuck
we'll see what comes out of it,
We're just
right?
fucking having fun. We're just talking anyway.
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying not to get anxious, man. Like, as soon as the cameras come on, I'm just like, oh, shit, I'm just, like, super aware of myself and stuff.
No, 100%. I'm the same way. And especially, like, I did an episode yesterday or a couple days ago with my homie Chris. And it's crazy because, like, we really know each other. I've known him for a long time. So you can kind of see, like, this person who's usually so comfortable around you kind of get like, oh, shit. But I think it's normal, man. Like, we all have this image we want to kind of project out into the world. Mm-hmm. But I think the coolest thing about just even the conversations that we're having or even about podcasts is we can kind of show like just the human side of it, like just be ourselves, and then like people vibe off that too.
Yeah, so. No, exactly. And that's why I'm trying to like act a little bit, because I want to know what it's like to be in front of the camera. I'm always behind it, so it's like, how am I supposed to direct people if I don't know what it's like to be in front of the camera? So I'm like I tried to sign up with some agencies, but I did a really stupid thing. You're supposed to send like headshots, right? Mm-hmm. So they asked me like, oh, write something about yourself, send a picture of yourself, and we'll find you work or whatever. But I sent like a selfie, like a mirror selfie with my thing, and they haven't messaged me back at all or emailed me back, and it's kind of funny. But yeah, I'm looking to get into acting and stuff.
Man,
like
I could definitely see you as a great actor, bro. Like I would cast you as like the Asian best friend. You got the knowledge, you got the likability.
Yeah, I'll take it, man. Anything like yeah, honestly, that would be an awesome role to have. It's like a comedy style kind of thing. Yeah,
for sure. Like what is there any other reason besides like wanting to be able to direct people more like authentically that made you want to act, or is it something you've always wanted to do?
It's just kind of like just being more on set on like my friends' films and stuff like that, or projects. Like it just made me go, oh, there's a whole nother element that like I have no idea about,
Right.
And it's because the way I want to direct is not by yelling and stuff like that, but I also need to learn to be stern when I need to be. And I don't know how to do that very well, 100. So like maybe being directed that way, I'll understand why you need to be that way a little bit better. Because I don't want to just always be passive and just we'll just go with the flow all the time. Totally. I'm trying to expand that part of me that's like, let's get this done.
For sure.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I have an element of that myself. Like I've always kind of just wanted to make sure that everybody else is kind of comfortable, and I can kind of just like go with the flow and kind of like make sure everyone's happy. Like, where do you think that comes from? Do you think that's like an Asian thing?
Oh, for sure, dude. Yo, for sure. Like we want to keep the peace no matter what, right? We don't want any conflict, like, and that's a great thing to have, because you need that for certain types of people and to like interact and stuff. So I really embrace that part. But there is a side where I'm like, I just need to, it's like almost that masculine energy that you need that we don't get because we're so just oppressed by our parent, like the fears and shit like that, right? So, for sure.
Because like, our parents are the first people we experience relationship with. And so like we learn how to be accepted through how our parents accept us. And so as a kid, especially as an Asian kid, you make the best part of that relationship when you behave.
Yeah.
And what does behave mean? No conflict.
Yeah.
And so like, even for myself in my personal journey, man, like I've had to kind of unlearn that and then actually learn that conflict is a super important thing that I have to become comfortable with to be able to advocate for myself. Because at least when I was growing up, like I love my parents and they did an amazing job, but they were just doing the best they could with what they had. So they're telling me like, don't talk back to me. Don't say this. You shouldn't do that. I'm your dad, whatever. And then so you internalize that, right? But then now we are the adults, and now it's our turn to say like, nah, man, it's okay for you to speak up. Like, what do you want to do? Yeah, we're going to go do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's a part of my growth, at least.
Yeah, me too, man. Because like you said, especially Asian parents, I think even just like immigrant parents, that's a general like thing that happens, right? And I know with Asian men especially, I don't know about you, but in my family, all the Asian men are the more passive ones, with the exception of like one or two
Right.
of my cousins or whatever. But yeah, I know it's like with me, my brother, and my dad, like we're the passive ones, and yeah, to break out of that is so difficult, to like catch yourself when you're not doing that, when you need to speak up for yourself, and you don't know yourself when you don't do that.
100%.
It's like you just let that part like die with your voice by not speaking it, and when you do, it's like this whole nother feeling that you get within yourself, like, yo, like I spoke up for myself. It actually feels good. I've never felt this before. And it's still hard to do it from time to time.
100%.
Because people don't like it.
No.
And it's like, that's a tough thing, because it's usually the closest people that you need to say those things to.
For sure, man.
Yeah.
And I think like that's the biggest thing, right? Like, I think the reason why you can become passive in life is because you want to hold on to relationships, right? You don't want to be abandoned. But when you actually don't advocate for yourself, you have to abandon yourself in hopes that someone else doesn't abandon you. You know what I mean? So that growth, at least that's how I see it. You know what I mean? That's what my experience has been like. And so it's cool, man. I actually think that we have so much in common, because like you had a family business too, right? Like Sushi Toki, was that a family business?
Yeah, that was my uncle's business. So that was Mike's and my cousin Larry's parents. But my dad also had a business. I wasn't really too involved. I was really young.
Okay, yeah.
But they had a business in the flea market and like a cleaning service and stuff like that back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, how else has like that immigrant or Asian mentality or upbringing kind of affected you? Because even we were talking earlier about like just your ability to hustle, man, your ability to be so resourceful and do your own thing.
Oh man, like where to begin, honestly, dude. So many things. Like, I'm trying to think of what the biggest thing would be. Yeah, obviously the passive thing is a huge deal.
Yeah.
Speaking up, like we were talking earlier about how I just for once like stood up for myself with a client.
Yeah.
Like, and when me and him are homies, but he approached me saying, like, I think this is a reasonable price to work together. And for me, it was like, yo, this is my business. Nobody should be coming to me and telling me how much worth is in my videos or how
100%.
much in terms of like financial value and stuff like that. So just speaking up in a kind way, because I think with us, like, it's hard. We think that speaking up for ourselves is mean. Yeah. Right? Like even playing basketball or sports, like I don't ever want to hurt anybody or like play aggressive because I think it's like rude. Right. But it's not. Like I often am my best self when I'm aggressive or when I have that side.
100%.
And still be kind, So yeah, there's so many things where I see my parents, like I'm so much like my dad here. I'm so much like my mom here. And it's good and bad, Like with my mom, she does everything for everybody. And she doesn't do anything for herself, Right. And when I was being raised, like, I had no idea that I was taking advantage of that, She let me get away with so much that I take her for granted. And now that when I'm in relationships, I take like women for granted because I just always think that they'll be there because that's how my mom raised me. No matter what I did, what I said, how rude I was, like, she would still love me and but she wouldn't say anything. She wouldn't speak up for herself. So I really appreciate that about her, that she'll always like be there. But now I got to learn how to do that and have boundaries. That's a huge thing, man. Boundaries. Huge. Oh man. Yeah. Same thing with my dad. Like he's super passive. So in my household growing up, it was me and my brother, my mom, my dad, and my grandparents. It's not a big house, right? Right. 3 bedrooms. And my mom, so my grandma is my dad's mom. So, like when you live with your in-laws, like you just always hear it's just really difficult. Totally. Especially my dad's like the first son that my grandma had and stuff like that. So there's always like, yeah, you took my son away from me and like you did this. There's just a lot of blame that you don't fucking need, I feel that. So just learning how to communicate properly in times of conflict. That's another big growth thing for me. 100%. And you're never going to learn how to deal with conflict if you're never in it. Yeah. Like you got to be in it. Yeah. And the more you avoid it, the less you're going to be good at that thing. And actually, man, this is what my ethos in life is at this point when it comes to conflict. It's like, man, if me advocating for myself makes me lose you,
well then, man, this relationship ain't good for me. Like, because then I have to abandon myself to be with you. I have to abandon myself to be your friend. Like, if anything, a good friend is going to see a point of conflict as an opportunity to see like, oh, this is where like maybe things don't match up with us, and we can either improve this or we can accept this and then change the level of our friendship or relationship, right? But ultimately, every good relationship starts with our relationship with ourselves, man. So yeah, that's my learning, at least.
Yeah, dude, no, like I agree with you 100%, man. Like that's why relationships are so important. For the longest time, I was thinking like, oh, I'm not ready for a relationship. Like I need to work on myself. But I learned so much in my last relationship. Like you have to get into relationships to grow, because
100%.
they see things that you don't see. You know, you think you're the shit. And there's nothing wrong with you and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they bring out the worst in you, or sometimes they bring out the worst in you, which is a good thing. You know, and that's a conflict that you gotta resolve yourself and be responsible for yourself. Yeah,
well, when those parts of you come out, then it's an opportunity to actually address them. You know, like, and yeah, man, I think it's bullshit when people say like, I have to be X, Y, and Z before I get into a relationship. And like, yeah, maybe there is a baseline of like what you should be. You shouldn't be like a crazy person or completely like traumed out and you can't deal with yourself at all. But like you said, you learn so much through relationship. And like, if you actually see like all aspects of life as beautiful, like you said, the bad sides have to come out for us to address them. Just because you might bring out something bad in somebody in the relationship, that doesn't make you bad for them. Right? Like, so I think depending on how you look at it, depending on how you frame your life. And so like, even if you feel like you have all of these things inside you, you got to also see the good in you and the good you have to offer people and what you can learn and what other people can learn from you, man.
100%. Like it's out there a lot now. I hear this a lot, but it's so true, where it's like when you get into a relationship, you attract somebody exactly with where you're at in life. You know, you're never better or whatever. Like, so me and my ex, like we grew so much. Like I learned from her exactly what I needed to learn, and she learned exactly what she needed to learn from me for our independent selves, you know? And to be independent now, to take those lessons and to see what it's like to be alone with those upgraded whatever, like it's exciting, you know? It's like, what is going to come out of this better me, this better version of me when I'm
100.
focused on just myself, you know? And like I see her, she's thriving, and like that makes me happy. Like it's great, you know? So man, it's just, yeah, like you said, it's all about how you look at it.
100. Everything
is for you, even though it doesn't feel like that 100% of the time, right?
Yeah, like for sure, relationship, even the most tumultuous or hard relationships I've been in have always been a catalyst for something good in my life. Like, what would you say is a lesson you're learning from your most recent relationship? I guess you guys learned so much. Like maybe like one little nugget that you're currently learning.
Just how I'm really selfish in a lot of ways, but there's times when I'm a little bit too selfish, where I'm not thinking about other people's feelings. Like I forget that like there are feelings. It's like so I tie it a lot with my last relationship. I tie a lot with how I treat my mom.
Right.
Just because that's just how it worked out. Like I wouldn't, because I'm so used to like I said earlier, how I'm so used to my mom letting me get away with shit. Like I have to start thinking about that more, where I'm like, this isn't actually right. Like this is actually, I'm doing something wrong here. Like I'm actually being rude, or I'm actually mistreating somebody this way. So I'm trying to be more aware of when I'm doing that, especially with like women. Like a lot of that is in that area, because I don't fully understand feelings, because I don't, there's something like whatever within me, but that's something that I've learned that it's not all me. As much as I'm like, oh, it's, you know, my life, I just got to focus on me. There are other factors
100%.
in it, you know?
Yeah, especially if you're in a relationship, now you have to kind of consider another person. And it's already so hard for us to consider ourselves, like even think back to the beginning of this conversation of like advocating for ourselves, making sure that we're getting the things that we need. Like that's already hard being on our own. And when you add another person into that, it's definitely hard too, man.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting how you like link that back to like your relationship with your mom. And I think that's like so much of who we are, man. Like ultimately at the end of the day, on a biological level, like we are 50% our mom and 50% our dad.
Yeah.
And you can't escape that.
Yeah.
You know? And like, I think we inherit traumas. Like, cause you know, if you're from an Asian household, we can say all this stuff about like our parents and how they raised us, but how were they raised? Like their lives were hard, man. If we weren't allowed to talk about our feelings,
oh,
bro,
way worse.
Exactly. Right. And so they're doing the best with what they had to give us. And now it's up to us to kind of heal that within ourselves, so we don't pass that on to the next. Right. And like, that's what this is. Like having these relationships, being with these people is an opportunity for us to heal. Because you would never be able to heal that without this person coming into your life and showing you like, hey, actually, like, oh, this is what happened. Oh yeah, my relationship with my mom made me like this. And so actually now it's showing up in this way in my relationship. And oh, now I can correct this. Yeah. You know, so it's actually like, it's a blessing. Everything is a blessing at the end of the day, you know?
100%, man. And it's really fun to actually connect the dots. You know, once you realize like, oh shit, like, because then you can actually work on it. And for the longest time, like I resented my parents and like blamed them for the way, like I still not 100%, I don't react the way that I want to my mom and stuff. I still get triggered or whatever.
Of course.
But now I kind of flipped my perspective on it, where it's like, instead of going, I don't want to make you guys proud because I want to be my own person. It's like, I want to prove to you that the times that you chose to do the right thing for me, like you were right. You know what I mean? Instead of going like, oh, what you did or didn't do was wrong and it made me a stronger person, which is true. But I need to acknowledge that the times where they could have done something, made a mistake, and they didn't, like, I need to acknowledge that and kind of respect that and really reward them for that. And
100%.
just be like, yo, like, whatever you did worked.
Totally.
You know?
Totally.
Yeah.
Because, man, me sitting in front of you right now, it's not like you turned out bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We all have our shit. We all have our things that we're going through and our own healing to do. But ultimately, yeah, they did the best with what they could, right? And I think, yeah, it's so fun to connect the dots and like go back and be like, oh yeah, that's why I'm this and that's why I'm that. I think the hard part though is like doing the work. Once you see the dots connected and you see the blueprint in front of you of like, oh, these are the things I have to do, actually doing it and stop like living in that story of being like, well, this is what happened to me when I was a kid. And this is like, and that's all true. I'm not here to invalidate anyone's trauma or suffering or anything. It's all 100% real. And even though your healing isn't your fault, it's your responsibility. You know?
Yeah. Can't do anything else about it. Like,
yeah.
And the biggest like example for me when I realized that was like back when I was still living with my parents. I was like, you know, I'm not gonna wait for my mom to teach me how to cook or whoever. So I just started making breakfast for myself. Like I started just cooking eggs. That's it. Eggs and toast. But then what happened was like, me and my mom and my dad like sat down and ate together for like, I don't remember us ever doing that. Wow. But it came from like me just going like, okay, I need to like grow and learn on my own. And I just cooked, and I didn't think like, oh, you didn't cook for me when I was younger. So that was like a moment that I'll like remember forever, because it's like I chose to grow myself, but not to be selfish with it. And just like, because in a way that they didn't heal from their child self, and for me to be like, to punish them for that, I almost had to like parent them a little bit, like cooking for them and stuff like that, right? It was nice. And it's just, that made me go like, whoa, like working on myself really does kind of help like heal things around me, you know?
100%. Yeah. That's the hugest thing, man. Yeah. Like, when you can heal yourself, like that's the best way to actually improve your surroundings, because now you're going to be a positive impact on everything and everyone around you, man. And I actually have a similar experience with my family, because, you know, in my life, and in every immigrant person's life, or maybe if not, you're not an immigrant, it's the same thing, right? Like, you know, emotions weren't always welcome. Like you weren't really allowed to speak your mind or whatever. And so like in my journey with my family, like I started just like, and we like, you know, we'd go around the table and like we'd be at the dinner table and we wouldn't really talk to each other. Just be kind of quiet. Don't really have conversation. And just like you, it wasn't, I didn't say like, oh, well, you guys need to start the conversation. You guys, you're the parents, so you should like build our family up to be close. I was like, I started having conversations. I started talking to my dad and be like, hey dad, what was life for you when you were 25? And then it helped me get to know him better and get to know myself better because I know where I come from. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then I started like telling my parents like my emotional stuff and being like, hey, this is how I feel right now. And then being the first one to do that, dude, now my family, bro, we've never been closer. Now we're talking about our feelings. We're freaking like close, man. Like all the way back when I can remember back when I was in high school, never talking. Now we're like tight.
That's so dope, man.
Yeah. And that's why I always encourage people, man. I'm like, take the first step in your family. Like, it's just like you said, you got to see them kind of as like trauma kids. Like you're like, oh yeah, your inner child isn't healed. Okay. So like if I'm the parent of myself now, why can't I like, you know, do a little nurturing for my parents who raised me my entire life. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. And it's really special to be able to do that, man. Like, cause you almost see that kid in them, like heal a little bit, you know? Like when we were eating together, I don't know what it was. Just the vibe of like, there's a piece to it, you know? Like they knew that what they did was they did the best they could. And, you know, it just felt right. It just felt like family, you know? And we didn't say much to it. We didn't talk really, but there didn't need to be any words, you know? Just being in that moment was very special. So yeah, it's awesome, man.
That's blessed, man. And then that's the thing. It's one step at a time. You know, one day it's cooking a meal and sitting down and feeling that energy of peace. The next day it's whatever next step it is for you guys, man. Like, and again, like you can look at that whole entire situation as either like, oh man, it was so hard for us. We have to build this up now from wherever it was. Or you can be like, wow, like how rewarding is it? Like you said, to go and be able to be that impact for the people that you love and then like heal people through your own healing. Like it's a blessing, man.
Truly, it is.
Yeah.
But I also want to say, like, I'm not perfect. Like, I still get like
of
really
course,
like fucking angry. My mom just like, she'll just come downstairs and then like ask me the most simple question. I'll just be like, you know, and it's hard not to get out of that and react that way. But it's something I work on, or try to work on, you know.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about family, man. Is like, even like we were saying earlier, you have to practice conflict to be good at conflict. And while you're training in the gym, you can't be mad at like you started boxing recently. So it's like, you can't be mad at yourself when you hit the pad wrong. It's like, okay, no, this is like reps, bro. Like the more and more you go and you hit that bag, the more and more you're going to start looking slick with it. But even the most slick people get KO'd.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's true.
So it's like, you're always going to have those vulnerabilities, but yeah, man, like family is something that you can always kind of like rely on, that whatever conflict you get into, you'll piece it up.
Yeah, dude, it's honestly like, it's like a book. It's like a textbook for like reference, you know? Like you can go back and flip like, okay, like this is where I get it from. How can I heal? I can accept this part. What am I taking on that I shouldn't? Like it's all there for you if you really want to look at it, you know? And but you gotta look at it without judgment or all any of that bullshit, man. Because blame doesn't do anything for anybody, man.
Of course not. Yeah, I feel that. And you're right. You have to want to look at it. Like, have you always just wanted to look at your shit? Have you always been like the kind of person to be always like self-analyzing and self-aware, or like where did that come from?
I don't know, dude. Like, yeah, I have no idea, but it's always the only thing that made sense for me. Like growing, like I there's nothing else in life that really pushes me forward. Like I don't understand anything else. Like that's just always what it probably comes from. My mom's super spiritual side. Like she's just like super spiritual.
Cool. Like in what way?
Like feng shui times like 100, you know?
I love that.
Yeah. And it's great. But like so what I realized recently is that she needs to do those things to live in that household with my mom or with my dad and my grandma. Cause it's such a toxic environment,
right,
for them and everybody that's in there. But, she needed to be spiritual so that she can handle that kind of stuff. And that kind of bled onto me, where I had to really focus inside, because that's what she does. She just strengthens her mind and her spirit and stuff like that. So I guess I just naturally got it from her. And yeah, nothing else made sense. Like chasing money or like big house, I never had that.
Right.
Like as a kid, I just didn't give a shit about that stuff, man. Like it's just, and as I got older and I met like more artists and stuff who were already on that path, like it just carried me forward. And like I just let things flow, and it just got me to that point, man. And yeah, I just don't know how I got there or why, but yeah.
I love that, man. I love that, because like, even I think that's the two things. You hit it there. Like you could have either went inward, or you could have tried to pursue like all the material things. And like when I see that, it's like, yeah, the real work is inside. But if we don't want to look at our stuff, if we don't want to look at our trauma or the things that are really holding us back, or our toxic patterns or whatever that might be, then we'll just look outside ourselves to try to accomplish things, to make ourselves appear to be healed to ourselves or to other people. It's like, well, look, I'm doing good, man. Look at my place. Look at my car. Look at my watch. I'm doing good, man. Look at me. I'm doing great. Look how great I am. This is the measure of who I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know, whereas like going in, you do all this work and then you walk around looking like a regular guy, and no one will even recognize the growth that you've gone through unless they actually speak to you or get to be a part of your energy, you know?
Yeah. And it's funny you say that, because I have friends and like family that don't understand or see that perspective. And they always tell me like, maybe you should take on this like 9-to-5 kind of thing, you know, but they don't know how soul crushing it is for me to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to explain it to them, but like, that's exactly what you're kind of saying. Like, there's nothing else to it for me than that inside work, you know? But I do that thing where I try to grab attention. Yeah. Like I love attention, and it's, it's a bad thing though. You know, I just realized it kind of in the last few years. So I'm catching myself every time, like, oh, I want attention from that girl or like whatever. I focus back inside. Like, no, I don't, that is just like my insecurities talking, like, right. So I'm trying to, and that's helped me execute more, stay more focused, because I get very easily distracted by things. That's why I'm taking a social media break, like just really focus on what it is that I need for myself, and not that external stuff that you talk about, you know? Totally.
And it's just like we were talking about earlier, like your relationship with yourself is the baseline for every single relationship that you have. So whatever you have to do that, whether it's like separate, unplug, do whatever you got to do, man, because ultimately it might sound selfish, but you're the most important thing. And but also it's not selfish, because we just talked about it. When you heal yourself, everyone around you gets to benefit from the energy that you're exuding around you. Like now you get to be a good impact on people. Whereas like if you're always giving yourself away to people, always thinking about like what this person wants from you or needs from you, then you're not really going to be truly giving them anything of real value, because you're not being a happy person, man.
100%, dude. It's like that quote from Coach Carter. I'm not going to quote it because I'll probably butcher it, but it's basically saying like, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Like the light quote. Yeah.
There's nothing enlightened about shrinking yourself so that other people don't feel insecure around you. Right. Yeah. That's super powerful. Because people who want to grow will see your light and like actually propel themselves instead of pulling you down, you know?
Exactly. You'll attract the people that are meant for you when you're doing the things that you're supposed to do. And like whoever's looking at what you're doing, whether that's your creative art or the thing that you love or whatever that thing might be, and they're like, oh, that's cringe, or like, oh, you should be doing something else or whatever, those aren't your people. And the more that you're actually resonating on the frequency that you actually are, the more you're going to attract people that are meant for you. That's why I think we're sitting here right now, man, because like, you know, I'm someone who kind of let go of my creative side, and now I'm trying to pick that back up, and so are you. You know, and that's how we connected. So like, yeah, let's talk about that, man. Like, what are the creative pursuits that you want to do now after all this healing, after all this learning, after all this shit? Like, what's on your mind right now? What are the things you're pursuing?
So many things, man. Like, I just want to learn to. I'm just learning to execute. You know, till this day, I haven't done any personal projects, passion projects. It's all about. It's been more client based.
Right.
So now I'm like, yeah, I just want to learn how to actually execute on my own projects. You know, I don't have any projects where I'm like super proud of, where I'm like, this is me and stuff like that. And I'm learning to love my work as much as other people. Because when people, like, honestly, when people say that, oh, I love this video, I love your work, I think they're lying.
Yeah.
Like, straight up. Like, I'd never believe anybody. I'm trying to be better with that.
Bro, I'm the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? It's hard. You know, it's that doubt that you put in your mind. But I think it's a good thing because it helps me get better. You know?
For sure.
If I was just completely satisfied, I don't know if I would be doing anything, you know?
Of course.
Yeah. So, as for like specific projects, I really want to make silent films. That's like a modern silent film, you know, entertaining without dialogue, and just, you know, just to find a way to do it where it's meaningful and it's entertaining, and to not just copy the like Charlie Chaplin or whatever.
Right.
It's just, that's something that's been playing in my mind for the past like 4 years, and I think it's time to do something with that. Yeah. So that's one project that I really want to work on.
That's amazing. I love that concept because it's like, it's storytelling in its most simplistic form. Like but like, because it's simplistic, because you're taking away all these tools, it becomes very difficult. But like, imagine it has no words, right? Like, now it can communicate and resonate with anyone despite whatever language they speak or anything. That's an incredible goal, man. I would love to see you put that into like fruition. That's an amazing idea.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, maybe you'll be a part of it too.
That'd be
like,
cool. I'd be down.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't know. Like, I have no idea what it would be like yet, but that's something that I think would be really fun. And especially now where words don't, like, you're watching YouTube sometimes and you're just reading the captions or whatever, right? People are already kind of watching silent films. They just don't really know it yet.
Right.
You know? So I think there's something really fun in there that'd be really fun to do. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Or is there like any story that you want to tell? Is there anything that like any like message or anything that you want to get out to people?
Man, I want to put Asians on the map a little bit, man. Like, I talk to my friends sometimes, and I always tell them there's no one in the city that I want to be like. You know, there's nobody where I'm like, oh, they're doing what I want to do. So, but one inspiration I do have is Jordan Peele. Like, what he does for Black culture and his like heritage and stuff like that is so awesome. And it's not just that he's just putting African Americans or Black people on screen. His movies are dope. Like, they're actually good, you know. And all these Asian movies that I see coming out, they're okay, but you just almost feel like they're just putting it out because Asians are hot right now,
right?
You know. And I don't want that. Like, I want to show like, yo, we actually have stories to tell. We actually have warriors, you know. It's not just K-pop and whatever. There's 100%. We have legit warriors, you know. And I just want to put that out there and just kind of share that, because I've been thinking, like, when we grew up, it was mostly like black and white. Yeah. You know what I mean? And we were always trying to live up to either side, you know? So to me, it was, there's a missing thing there. Yeah. And there's a lot of opportunity to empower and to like inspire, and to just show like we're more than just what's being shown right now, you
100%. Know? I love that. I love that intention, man. That's real. Yeah. Like, I feel the same way, man. Like, you know, I'm sure people hear this all the time, but yeah, as a kid, you don't have, at least when, you know, I'm growing up and I'm telling my parents I have these different dreams or whatever, the things that I want to do. Like, I'm going to be a musician, or I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that. And there isn't anybody that looks like me to point to tell my parents, like, see, look, that guy did it, and he's Vietnamese. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, like, yeah, man, ultimately, we all represent, like, our own ethnicities, our own cultures, but we're all human. And I think that, you know, telling an Asian story is telling everyone's story. Like, anyone could relate to that. And I think that's what we're missing. Because right now it's like you said, it's black or white. It's like kung fu or K-pop.
Yeah, basically. You know?
And so, like, yeah, there's warriors, there's intellectuals, there's spiritual people, there's people who are, name it, You know what I mean? There it exists within our culture too, and like that's also a part of why I'm trying to build what I'm trying to build too.
That's awesome, man. That's probably why we're linking up today, man. You know?
Yeah,
it all makes sense. Like it's kind of crazy because we had opportunities to link up. I've known you for the past 3-4 years or something like that.
Yeah,
you know?
a long time.
And why like this moment out of nowhere? You know, it makes sense, man. Yeah. So thanks for having me, dude. Like
yeah,
seriously,
of course, man.
Like
This is awesome.
It's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So how about you? Like I'm gonna interview you now.
I love that. Yeah, please.
So yeah, so you're just getting back into music we were talking about earlier. Like do you have any like projects that you want to work on, or are you just kind of just getting back into just doing it?
Yeah. So like, I'm all about baby steps. I'm a first step kind of guy. Like you don't always have to have a plan. You know, I think a vision is important, but a plan is a little bit different. You know what I mean? So for me, the first step for me was just getting back out there. So I did a open jam at a place called the Attic in Inglewood, and just kind of like fed off the energy of other people, of the crowd, of like me performing live, which is actually like the thing I love most about music. But the other thing I love about music is just the community and being around musicians and creative people and artists, you know? And so I guess like right now what I want to do with music is I actually want to put musicians on. Like I want to create a platform that allows me to use all of the things that I've invested in to create great content to showcase the artists in the city in a way that's like high quality, like, and you know, actually tells their story, so they can be on the podcast, or they can be on this thing I'm planning to create that's called YYC Wave. It's kind of like a play on colors, if you've ever seen like color sessions, and kind of showcasing artists in that way, you know, like, so that's kind of where I see myself in music now, to kind of like facilitate musicians. But music will always be a part of my life. I love it, and I'll always play it, and I'll always sing R&B ballads and stuff.
Yeah, dude. No, like I saw you at One Big Jam the other day. Shout out to One Big Jam. Or a couple years ago. And I always want, for some reason, every jam, I'm like, I wonder if Nick's going to be here. Because like, you don't see a lot of almost Asian singers, almost. Like, we look we look really Asian, you know what I mean? Like, there's a hip hop Asians, you know what I mean?
Right,
that, like, you can tell that that's just their lifestyle and stuff. But like, for me and you, I feel like we're the same, where we're kind of in between. Right. Like we're that little nerdy accountant side, and the artist side, and what you said earlier was like, you want to bridge that gap between businesses and artists, and I think it takes people like you to do that, you know, like because you understand both sides of it, right? And that's a really important thing, because if we just leave it up to businesses, it's gonna be fake. It's just gonna be about money and stuff. But when you're doing it, it's a genuine, like, you want to make it cohesive, and like, it's a genuine thing. So it's really important, man. And I support you in doing that.
I appreciate that.
Dude, that's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's something that I've wanted to do for a really long time, man. And I think, like, you know, we sit on ideas for too long. Like, even we talked about this before, like, when you're a creative person and you don't create, something happens to you. Like, actually, my boy Eddie, he said this, like, creativity, when it is not used, it doesn't just do nothing. It metastasizes into something. It needs to come out. And if it doesn't come out creatively, it comes out in destructive ways. And so, like, whatever's inside you, man, needs to come out. And so, like, I've been sitting on this idea forever. And then just, like, recently, I decided, like, why not right now? I'm not getting any younger. And why am I going to wait to live my life in the way that I want to? Like, why am I going to wait to execute on my dreams? Like, who am I even waiting for? What am I even waiting for? You know?
That's another Asian thing, dude. Waiting? Like, yo, man, fuck. Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. But no, like, well, what's the point of waiting, you know?
Yeah.
Just, like you said, make baby steps. And those are the building blocks to what's going to come, you know? And being patient is, like, a huge thing, right? Like, when I talked about how some of my family or friends don't understand the path that I'm on, I'm like, I'm either going to get to seeing my name on big screens or whatever, or I'm just going to die trying. Like, I don't know anything else. Like, nothing else makes sense for me, you know? And I'm going to be patient with that, because I know I'm going to get there if I keep going. Because when you see progress in yourself, you're like, it doesn't make sense that I won't get there. You know, because you see yourself growing, and it's like, it makes sense that if you keep growing, you'll get there eventually.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. It's like a mixture of having that faith that you'll get to that place and also being able to enjoy it on the way there. You know what I mean? Like, if it's always just about the end destination, like in life, the end destination is literally 1% of your life. If you're living your entire life for that 1%, 99% of your life is just suffering. You know, like, and so that's why I always stress, like, do what you actually like to do. And then you'll actually have the stamina to get to the place. And the other part that you touched on was there's going to be people around you that don't support you and don't believe in you. And like, I don't know, man, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with like having people around you that don't believe in you?
Well, number one, you can't judge them. You have to understand that they are coming from a good place, from their own values and stuff like that, right? Like, me and my cousin, we have pretty deep conversations about this, and we're kind of on the other side of things, but we always make sure to respect each other, that we understand that, you know, that we both see things differently. And you really got to learn to not take it in, like not absorb it and go like, or you can't doubt yourself when they say things like that. You can reflect, but you can't be like, oh, like, is he right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, and yeah, you just got to learn to be confident in your own thoughts and stuff like that, you know? Like during COVID, that was shaken for me. I started questioning myself a lot, you know? And yeah, but it took me so I did a 9 to 5 at a private school, and I learned a lot, but I was doing videography there.
Okay, nice.
And like, that's what I like to do. But in that setting, it's just not for me. It's just so totally different.
100%.
You know, it's not the same as doing your own thing. But it took me to do stuff that I didn't want to do and be open to it, and to learn more about myself, to be firm. Like, okay, this is who I am now. I'm not going to go to that other side because that's not me. I die that way, you know, like inside. So I think you have to be open to hearing that kind of stuff. Because I feel like if you just are angry about it and resent it with people and judge other people for it, it affects that creative side of you. It's you're doing things out of like anger and like negative energy, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think whenever you hold on to like negative energy like that, like I'm a spiritual person, so like whenever I'm holding on to like negativity, I really believe that it weakens my connection to the divine. And I think creativity is just us being conduits for some spiritual divine higher power or whatever, and we're just instruments. No matter who you are, whether you're creative or not, I believe we're just vessels for ideas and great things to come through us if we just embrace like our dreams. Like, oh, I want to do this. Oh, that's because you're supposed to do it. And like, your path is going to be different from everybody, man. And I love that you balance that out with like, be open to what people have to say. And yeah, you tried the job, man. Yeah. Now like, try it. Now you actually know that you don't like it. And that's just the fact of doing shit instead of just sitting there and thinking like, do I like this or do I not like this? Am I going to like this? Or, you know, like just do it and then you'll know.
Yeah, exactly. And you really have to do those things to learn about yourself. If you're lost, if you just keep doing shit that you like to do, like you're not going to figure anything out. What's like your biggest vision for yourself? Like top, no limits or anything. What's your like vision of yourself?
Man, in the most broad sense, I just want to be a positive force in the world. That's really what I want to be. And I guess the beginning of that is what I'm working on right now, which is it's something called Effect. It's kind of like I want to create a content platform and studio to do exactly what I said, bridge the gap between businesses and creators. So like I'm already kind of doing that right now. If you want to follow us, it's effect.yyc on TikTok and Instagram. We also have a YouTube channel. And right now it's just food. Right now we're trying to like showcase Calgary food in a way that isn't just a bunch of reels or TikToks that are like 1 minute long, and actually do a deep dive into the food of these places. Because ultimately, if you're talking about culture of any place, you gotta talk about the food, you know? But then I'm gonna incorporate musicians, artists, and the podcast and all these different things. And I put no limits on myself, bro. Like I really believe, like, you know, I'm 31. And so I think I'm going to live until I'm 100. I got 70 years left. That's a lot of time. Mm-hmm. Especially with all of this learning I've been doing, all of this growing I've been doing, like the sky's the limit. And so like, what is effect to me? Like, even if I accomplish all my dreams with effect, what is that, 10 years of my life? Then I'm 40. And then I can do anything. Maybe I'll be Prime Minister of Canada. Maybe I'll be like, you know, I don't know. Like you know, Joe Rogan is kind of a controversial person. But when you think about him, he started off on Fear Factor. Mm-hmm. And now he's one of the most influential people on earth.
It's crazy.
So like, and when did he get his notoriety? At like the end of his 40s? Mm-hmm. Like I think people give up so early on their dreams, man. I think people like, oh, if I didn't make it by 25, I'm never gonna make it. And it's like, bro, you're 25. You're like 2 years old, bro. Mm-hmm. Like I said this before, but if life's a game, you're only you're leaving the first quarter. Mm-hmm. You got 3 quarters left to play. So what are you gonna do? You know?
Yeah, that's interesting. You say the quarter thing. I was just listening to Nas halftime, and I'm like, it's not even halftime for me yet. You know, it's like it's barely begun. You know, and to feel that is so exciting, and to like really like, yeah, understand that it's like, yo, what can't I accomplish if I been through all my shit, trauma, whatever, and I'm still at this place? Like, what's gonna keep happening if I just keep? Because like during COVID, you see all these young cats doing videos and stuff, and I was like, yo, I'm falling behind. Everyone's so good at editing, and everyone has nice cameras and shit now. And I was just like down on myself. I'm like, fuck, should I just like do something else and not do film or whatever? But like, no, like I got my own style, you know, they can do their thing. I'm gonna keep growing with my stuff, and you know, yeah, like I don't know what else to do with my life, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And man, like that perspective for me, it helps me realize like how much time I have, and then that reduces my anxiety and my need to accomplish things or see results super quickly. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, oh, well, I have 10 years, so it's okay if I post this thing and it gets 4 likes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or if it's okay if I like produce my first movie and it doesn't get as much love as I thought it would get. Mm-hmm. Or it's okay that I've been doing this for X amount of time and I'm still not at the place I want to be yet. Like, you have time. And the only time that we feel like we don't have time is when we're comparing ourselves to someone else. Mm-hmm. And we're looking how far they are at this thing, you know?
Yeah.
And this is a conversation I had with somebody recently where it's like, you know, envy only comes from you seeing the good parts of somebody and then only wanting the good parts. If you had to take their entire life, all the good and all the bad, you'd be like, no, you keep that. I'm gonna work on mine. Yeah. Like, I'm good. Yeah. I got all my stuff I gotta work on, but it's better than that. Mm-hmm. You know? Yeah,
no, straight up. And usually, like, when I get jealous or envious or whatever, it's usually with people that I don't even want. Like, I don't even want that. Yeah, it's stupid, you know, or it's stupid to compare myself to like Jordan Peele or whatever, Christopher Nolan or whatever, because that's what I'll do. I'm like, oh, my stuff is like nothing compared to that. But it's like, yo, they put on so much hours into their craft. Like, I don't even know where I'm at with the 10,000 hours mastery thing. Right. But I don't think I'm close to it yet, you know, and yeah, it's exciting, man, to just keep going and see what happens.
For sure.
You know?
And I appreciate the people who do that though, like Peele, right? Like, you know, you can see that as a way to compare yourself and put yourself down, but you can also see as like, this person's like giving you inspiration. Mm-hmm. This person's showing you what's possible. You know what I mean? Oh, if it's possible for him to do it, how about me and the generation after him who has X more tools, who has a different complete perspective than him, different stories to tell. Like, that is what is possible. Mm-hmm. And so it's always a crazy balance of like, okay, don't compare yourself to people, but also don't like stop yourself from like admiring other people's like work and being able to emulate that, at least as a first step for yourself, and then find your own way, find your own mark you want to leave on the world, you know?
Yeah, that's so true. Who inspires you though? Like, is there any business or person?
Man, I think I find inspiration in everything. I think I find inspiration like going on a hike or like reading books. But if I had to like say there's like one person who really inspires me, it's probably, this is someone that it's probably Bruce Lee. You know, because Bruce Lee, you know, he was kind of the first person to challenge Asian stereotypes. Before Bruce Lee, the Asian people you saw on TV were white people with like their eyes taped, slanted.
John Wayne.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then he came on the scene and he was like you were saying before, there's warriors. There's this masculine figure beating up whatever other races, you know? Yeah. And then also beyond that, like if you look into Bruce Lee, he was a philosopher. He's an intellectual. Like he really thought about things in life and like he had great ideas. You know, I think the coolest people and what makes us so unique is like you're mixing two or more things that aren't supposed to go together. Mm-hmm. And then that's what makes you uniquely you. Whereas everybody is saying, stay in your lane, man. Oh, you're a singer, so you should just sing. It's like, no, man, I'm actually so many things. I love to sing. I love martial arts. I love speaking to people and learning from other people. So like, you know, I'm doing all these different things. I'm in a bunch of different like scenes. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I think Bruce Lee was my first example of that, seeing like, okay, this guy is like so much stuff. And I don't have to pigeonhole myself either. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anybody for you? I guess besides Jordan Peele?
Well, Kanye West was a big inspiration for me just because like, I know people see the crazy side of him, but if you watch like his interviews of him talking about what he wants to do, I found that it was always about making the human race better. You know, he always wanted to attack bullying and stuff like that, making kids just through fashion, you know, like he wanted to stop kids getting bullied. So he changed the fashion game, which I think he did. I don't know in depth if that was true or not, but I feel like he actually made a style that used to get bullied, like not bullied. It's like cool, you know? Yeah. So Kanye, as far as artistry, Childish Gambino, because what you talked about, he does everything. Yeah, he does music, he does comedy. You know, when I first watched him, it was his comedy stuff. Yeah, so he does comedy, music, he produces Atlanta, he acts, like
he does so much.
Yeah, that's so cool, man. Just to do everything on such a high level is like really inspiring. That's the thing, like I want more Asian inspirations, you know. I know his cinematographer is Asian. I think he's a Japanese guy. Okay, cool. On Atlanta. But yeah, man, just I think those are the guys that really speak out to me first.
That's awesome, man. Like, and I think the thing in common with all those people and the thing that makes you able to actually delve into all these different things is making sure that whatever you're creating still feels like play. Like you still have fun with it. You can have all of these dreams and aspirations for your creativity, but never lose that sense of play, the thing that brought it to you when you were a little kid, the thing that made that spark in your head when you like picked up a camera for the first time. Like I remember for me, when I first saw a guitar, I was like, that's the coolest thing ever. I was like, dang, like I just saw somebody shred on a guitar. I'm like, oh man, I want to be like that. You know, and like, you know, especially when you're a creator and you care so much about the work you're doing, you can begin to be so hard on yourself and you get so serious with it. You're like, okay, I'm going to just practice scales every day. But it's like, no, man, like you got to play. You got to play, man.
Yeah, it's important to have friends that want to do that too. You know, like my homie Eris, he's probably like, he's a very fun person. Like his vibe, his music, he's a producer. His music is like all about fun. He's a dancer. So like you can just feel that in his music. So I work with him a lot, and it, every time I do it refreshes that child in me. Cause it's just pure fun, you know? And like you said, it's important to never let go, cause it's such a big part of, like who you are. Like everybody has that, and to let that go is kind of sad. Like it's depressing to kind of think about that, you know. And I know what happens, you know. And the only thing that really brings out is art. Yeah, you know.
Well, man, we started this conversation with like the healing of our inner childs. Like, what does a child do? It plays. Like, how are you going to say that you can nurture your inner child without letting yourself play, man? Without letting yourself have fun, without letting yourself try things and fail? Like, that's why kids are sponges and learn so fast, because they're not in their heads being like, I'm so bad at this, because you're supposed to be bad at it. You're a kid, you're a baby. You know what I mean? And if we were just all as gentle with ourselves, we would grow so much more.
Oh yeah, man. And it's fun. It's just like yeah, when you're having a blast and you're having fun, that's when your child comes out, right? And yeah, life would be so shitty without it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And just collaborating with people that are like-minded, man. When you get into the, like, I always admire musicians because when they get to jam with each other on stage, like, it's so cool. Like, everyone's just doing their own thing, but they're fucking, like, connecting. Like, everyone's coming from the same place, and it's like, it's so cool. I wish I could, like, jam or whatever, freestyle, whatever. Because it's in that zone, I feel like that's the most purest, like you said, the connection, whatever. I don't know what that feels like, but it's so cool when I see freestylers just going, you know, like that state of mind to be in is, it must feel really good, you know?
Man, that's why I love being around musicians, man. And I love just being like the Attic. If you are in Calgary and you are near Inglewood on a Thursday, go to the Attic. There's people always jamming. There's a band there. There's a house band. They're incredible. And like, that's the beautiful thing. I think music this is true with all creation, maybe, mostly. But I think the thing about music is it's just so easy to see that when all of these people come together, it's far more than just the sum of their parts, right? Like, when a guitar player is playing, it's great. But then when you add drums, it's freaking amazing. But then the drummer needs the guitar, or else he's just playing drums. You know, and then you got the bass. The bass adds so much. But then it's like, if you're just playing bass by yourself, it's a different thing, you know? Like, and then add whatever other instruments you want to that. You know, it's like, it's such a vibe, man. That's why I love music forever. And that's actually like my main inspiration is to bring more artists together when it comes to music. It's not about me putting out my own thing, which, like, you know, I have aspirations of doing that too, but it's not my main goal. It's like, but man, that camera's still going, right?
Yeah, that one's still good.
So maybe we should end it.
Yeah, cool.
Is there anything that you want to say, man? Is there anything that you want to say to the people before you go here?
Drink water, man. You know, water. Drink water. That's so important, man. When I'm not drinking water, I'm not feeling right.
No, man, that's the truth. But man, I'm so appreciative of like you even spending your time, man. I appreciate you coming through, seeing the studio and sharing your energy, because it's fucking great. And I hope that we can create more together. And I'm so excited to see what you're going to be creating next, man, because you're a unique soul, and I just can't wait to see what you come up with.
Thanks, man. You too. Like, yo, like seeing your podcast stuff, like it inspires me. Like, just to let you know, I know not a lot of people, I don't think people say or give people flowers enough of who inspires them, because so many people inspire me in the city when I see them post stuff, you know. Sometimes it's envy, sometimes it's inspiration, but yeah, man, whenever I see you posted stuff, like it's very inspiring, and I think that's a lesson for all creatives, that you don't know who you might be inspiring, but just by posting a little thing, you know. So yeah, just keep doing it, man. Just keep your positive energy up, and you know, I know we're gonna make some big things for the Asian community, for the art community, Calgary, you know, and I was gonna have fun with it. So yeah, thanks for having me on, dude. This was a blast.
Man, thanks for coming. Thank you so much, bro. Appreciate you.
Of course.
All right.